Hello and welcome to another episode of Breaking Through in Cybersecurity Marketing. I'm one of your hosts, Gianna Whitver, here with I need a new adjective, and I kind of feel like maybe the crowd here, our two guests, will be able to provide one. Tim and Tim. I usually start the episodes by introducing Maria with an extremely flattering adjective such as the best podcast host, co-host in the world, or the most amazing. What do you think we should I ran out of adjectives though. What should we use?
Oh, you're asking us for an adjective for Maria?
You're the only two Tims on this episode. So, yes.
Gosh, so many to choose from. Brilliant, exhilarating, enthralling.
Glowing.
What's that?
What? I said glowing.
Glowing. Okay.
Oh my God. Yes, thank you. I'll take that. I did get some sun this weekend. So, yeah, I think that fits.
Amazing. So, and hello to my brilliant, exhilarating, glowing co-host,
Maria Velasquez.
And we are so excited to have two Tims on our episode today.
Tim Squared.
Yep. Tim Squared, Tim Golden, founder, CEO of Compliance Scorecard, and Tim Schnurr. I heard that you just renamed your company, so I'll let you explain yourself.
Yeah, no, so I'm called it inquisitiveIT.com, but I'm changing it to Least Trust. So this concept, it's cybersecurity, zero trust, least privilege, least trust, lean function is one of my kind of trademarks I've put out there, but it's what big companies do to remain safe. So they limit access, they limit all the toys you can play with and functions, just enough to get your job done and nothing more. And only the people that are supposed to be in, whatever business activity you're doing. So leasttrust.com was available. I was kind of shocked, and I think I'm going to go with it. So there it is.
You heard it here first, folks. We got
It's catchy. It's very catchy.
It's easier to spell.
It is easier to spell. As somebody that has gone through rebranding at least 3 times in the last 18 months, I feel your pain. But yeah, inquisitive, like, is that with a CQ or a QA or I don't know, just ask the dyslexic acronym guy how to spell stuff.
I feel you, Tim. Is it a Q or a G, right? Like I Gianna, Guiana, like I don't know how to spell.
Nobody knows. Yeah. Nobody knows.
Maria, we get that, no problem.
Easy enough. I've been blessed considering I'm Arab. I could have had a much more complicated name to pronounce.
You could have. We'll stick with the inquisitive Maria.
Ooh, my most inquisitive podcast co-host. So Tim Golden in particular, yes, tell us, Tim Schnurr explained what Least Trust does, and what does Compliance Scorecard do?
So we help MSPs operationalize the risk conversation with your clients by providing you the compliance scorecards so that you can have the easy and uncomplicated risk conversation with your customers.
Very interesting. Your go-to are the regulated industries, but where else do you lend a hand from an industry perspective?
Yeah, so it's very interesting, right? Because yes, we talk about all the risk frameworks and the least trust things, but it's really what we've been noticing. The cyber liability insurance stuff is really driving the adoption of, like Tim, least trust, like Tim, compliance scorecard, right? Really driving this, like, are you doing 2-factor? Are you doing backup? And so out of a, sort of tongue-in-cheek, our good friend Will over at Fifth Wall Cyber Solutions, I came up with this whole concept of cliff, keep your customers from falling off the cliff, which is cyber liability insurance framework. So yeah, another framework and another acronym.
We love it. Let's add more. Let's make a commitment on this episode to all create 10 new frameworks and 10 new acronyms by the end of July.
That's okay. That's okay.
Easy enough to do.
Us in security and in marketing, I feel like we were born to handle the amount of acronyms we have. So it's okay.
Try being the dyslexic compliance guy dealing with acronyms, but hey, at least they're consistently misspelled.
Tim, your old brand was easier to spell, but the compliance scorecard makes total sense. So I get it. And he's also trying to gamify it a little bit, scorecard, right? Like scoreboard against your competitors, your colleagues. But yeah, it's a great name.
Yeah, we've actually just started to introduce this whole idea of how does my MSP compare to other like MSPs? Not only that, but how does my healthcare dental organization compare to other healthcare dental organizations? How do we score against each other? Who's winning the compliance game?
Yeah, that's so valid. I think that it's very notorious in this industry. Everybody wants to know what everybody else is doing and how they're doing it and who they're doing it with. That's literally what's going on.
Tim, you've heard this. I call that the Peloton metric.
Mm-hmm.
If you ride the Peloton bike, you know exactly like how you are like against the entire universe, whoever took that class or who's currently in the class live. But yeah.
My wife calls it the orange theory effect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Orange theory, very similar to Peloton.
Do they measure like how you're doing in the class? Like you're number one?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's very competitive. I wouldn't know because I don't set foot in it. But,
I haven't been in that one.
So both of your companies operate in this very interesting space, which is the world of MSPs and the channel. So correct me if I'm wrong, you're both selling, or actually, instead of me making an assumption, what is your go-to-market? Are you selling to the channel and operating as a vendor to them? Are you selling through the channel and selling through MSPs in order to sell to their end customers? What is the go-to-market for each of you?
I am actually providing cybersecurity to baby boomers, retirees, individuals, right? So most individuals are usually covered by some kind of corporate umbrella. They've got a laptop that's managed by some smart security people, and that keeps them safe, right? But as people retire or individuals are, out of work, like they're not using managed devices anymore. So it's a little bit of cyber awareness. It's a lot of cyber awareness, but it's also managed devices that are extremely configured tightly, that least trust thing we're talking about before, lean function. The channel element is actually, I will work through, referrals from anyone who's a trusted advisor, an accountant, a state attorney, financial advisor, financial planner. It is a little bit of a different channel business. I'm not actually typically selling to MSPs, not that MSPs I can't work with them as well. I still do some things in the channel, highly involved, but not kind of like square down the middle like Tim Golden is with Compliance Scorecard.
Very cool. And so Tim Schnurr, I assume you're selling to these high net worth individuals who have something to protect and care a lot about security on a personal level, which the average person, for lots of reasons does not really pay a lot of attention to.
Yeah, I mean, so it's pretty affordable, like less than $250 a month. So it's not out of reach for most people. I would say the baby boomers obviously have vast amounts of wealth and they're vastly unprotected. So it doesn't have to be a billionaire or anything like that. I mean, there's plenty of retirees that should have $1 million given current rates of inflation in the bank and ready to protect, right? So I would say it's outside of that, person jumping in a private jet with a security team. There's plenty of people that we know and work with and that are just normal Joes like Tim and I.
Awesome. Cool. And then Mr. Tim Golden, how do you sell? What's your go-to-market?
So generally we work directly with the MSPs, right? As a former MSP myself, knowing that channel quite well, having been there for way too long, our ideal customer profile is definitely the MSP itself. However, both of our products complement each other. We have a peer group to teach the MSPs how to fish. And we also have the platform, which is the tackle box to go fishing with, right? And so kind of both being able to help them. Recently we've been actually helping a lot of MSPs build out their own packaging, pricing, and go-to-market strategy, right? So how do we build a compliance as a service as an MSP? We've been helping them. We've been showing them. We've been working side by side with their sales team to build out a package price and profit off a compliance offering. So while it is a sell to the MSPs, we're working with them to sell through so that they can actually get it in front of their customers and have customers better protect themselves, their defensibility, their cyber risk, all the scorecard things.
All the scorecard things.
That's really the biggest misconception. So enterprise cybersecurity products come and try to sell to MSPs in the channel, right? Outsourced IT providers, outsourced security providers, we'll call them MSPs, as long as your audience knows that term. But so this channel, typically, the biggest misconception is like they can just give them the product and run with it. And Tim mentioned the cohort, like we're teaching them how to fish, right? Like we're teaching them how to package, we're teaching them how to price, like all of that kind of guidance needs to be given because they're selling themselves, right? You're not selling to internal security, an InfoSec team that's just going to nerd out on the product and like really understand it. So they're going to have to sell it to a non-security person probably as well, right, Tim? I mean, chances are most small businesses are not cyber savvy. So all of that has to be in the calculus of selling to an MSP. And we can talk about like sales cycles and some of the other things as well that are important.
The challenge with enterprise tools that are not MSP specific, trying to come into our MSP spaces, number one, they just don't know us.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how we operate. They don't know the struggles that we go through as an MSP. Like, how many years? I mean, it's still 2024 and we're still begging our customers to turn 2FA on, damn it.
Oh
like,
my gosh. Yeah.
Right. So, the big enterprise tools, the ServiceNows, the OneTrust, all the tools trying to come in and like, we have the answer to GRC, buy our product and good luck. Well, no, like, that is not how we operate. Like we need some of that, I hate to say hand-holding, we need some of that guidance, right? And that's really what the crux of how compliance scorecards started was they got sucked into buying a tool they had no idea how to use. And I was giving away free advice, basically 3 days a week for free, which was not sustainable. Yeah. So we built that peer group and that community to teach these people, to teach that stuff.
I love that. It's building enablement for your own product so that you can enable your customers to sell and package. And like you said, Tim Golden, like be successful.
Not a huge fan of the word enablement. I know that gets tossed a lot around, sales enablement. Like I like to think of it as empowering our MSP partners to do the job that they're good at and have that conversation in terms their customers can understand.
You guys are such marketers. I love it.
We'll go with enable, Tim. I'm good with that. There is, there is a big channel company named Enable.
Yeah.
So, you guys have seen enterprise organizations try to enter the channel, MSPs specifically, and fail because they haven't understood the resource constraints and the talent constraints. Because like you said, small business. I own a restaurant. I own a dental office. Do I have 3 dedicated security people on my team? No. Or I'm an MSP and I'm trying to reach these business owners as opposed to the security team. So we can't like just geek out on cool features and products. It has to achieve a business goal. What are some other things or other ways that those entering the channel maybe trip up or make mistakes?
Yeah. So,
you want us to give away the secret sauce so our competitors know how to compete against us, huh?
Yes, that is what this show, that's been the long con of this show. That's why we run this show for 2 years, is to have Tim Golden and Tim Schnurr tell us their secrets.
Spill the secrets. So I have another one here, and it's really about like incentives and motivation, right, of the end buyer, right? So, I mean, if you're just start thinking, get your empathy hat on, think about a non-channel, an enterprise security product trying to sell to the end customer. It's probably like an InfoSec team, right? Really smart guy who's got budget. He's got a need. He probably even knows what he wants going into the research. And maybe it's between your company and a couple vendors. So take that out. Like now think about channel, right? So you've got an MSP, there's 100 million products out there, and they're like, well, why this one? And why, what's the value prop? So it's very difficult. I worked at another GRC company, and GRC is also very new and very kind of early. So Tim has quite a challenge. So putting that empathy hat on again, right, and thinking about they have to sell this to an MSP who has to believe in its value prop, that they can reconvey that value prop again to a non-technical person.
Mm-hmm.
seems like a reach, right? I mean, and then not only that, there's, like I said, lots of choices in the channel as well. They've got to commit their time to learning it, pricing it, using it, right? So, by the way, their time is not the same as a infosec person, right? You're paid a salary, I'll try a couple tools out. When you're working at a consulting firm or an MSP or an IT outsource firm, your time, your utilization, your opportunity cost is your utilization, right? So like, what are you going to give me to like, use this precious utility, utilization time and focused on your product? Because it's never turnkey, going out the door, priced and easy. Some of the more, I guess, mature, older kind of products are out there, but something like Tim Golden's Compliance Scorecard or GRC products, like, what are you going to give me to like basically do this on my own, right? So just like I said, think about that for a sec. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
There's a lot of misconceptions, right? First and foremost, can we just stop with the AI, automated, GRC, done for you, compliance in a box, marketing stuff? I'm sorry. Can we just stop with that?
All right, you heard it here, dear marketing friends and listeners. You heard it here.
Yeah.
Let's stop.
Can we just stop with
come
that?
Come on the show to argue with Tim and me and Maria.
Yeah.
Come on up.
Yeah, because number one, AI is not going to solve the problem in the compliance space. In fact, it's probably going to make it worse. Number two, you cannot automate compliance, period. You can never take the human out of it. So can we just stop with that fluffy baloney marketing stuff that MSPs seem to suck up? Because every time I get on a call and I hear can you automate all this stuff and do the work for me?
Yeah.
No, like, stop being lazy and do your job. No, I'm kidding, right? I'm purely kidding.
There's empathy for the customer right there. See it in action.
Purely kidding. I mean, this is why we built the peer group, is to be able to teach you this stuff, right? To be able to rip out the marketing fluff and understand the nuts and bolts that actually go into doing this work. When you're an enterprise tool trying to come into our space, yeah, I'm going to say it's our space. We're the ones here in the trenches, right? Think about, do you handle multi-tenancy, right? Do you handle multi-tenancy well, right? So that's just one little facet. What about cost? Right? I'm an MSP. I got to sell this to my customer, and I can't even get them to pay $30 a seat, let alone $600 a month for a platform and then another $500 per framework. No, I can't sell that to my customer. I need something that I can afford, that I can mark up and make money off of, and be able to sell that to my customer. I mean, I don't even want to go into the conversation of MSPs have a struggle selling anything, let alone a compliance-related stuff or a cybersecurity kind of thing. So yeah, honestly, multi-tenancy is an issue. Cost is obviously a huge issue. The ability to like have some of that flexibility, right? There's a tool out there that touts, we have 750 trillion billion integrations. And I start looking at it and I'm like, how many MSPs use Monday.com? How many use AWS? How many use ClickUp? And I'm looking through the list of integrations and I'm like, there's no RMMs, there's no PSAs, there's no actual MSP tools listed in their integration list. Unlike Compliance Scorecard, where all of our integrations are 100% MSP tools, just saying. So, when you're thinking about getting into that kind of thing and you're looking at from an enterprise tool level, come talk to us, come chat our language, and come do the things that we're doing. Listen, the space is big enough. I'm willing to leave my logo at the door to get all the right people at the conversation to help fix the compliance problem for the space.
That's what I was going to ask too, is the part of the intent for the peer group to also create an ecosystem of cybersecurity vendors that fit the profile and fit the needs of your customers or the end customer. Is that kind of the end goal, or do you have that already going?
So it is this, we like to call it blue ocean, right? It's very new, very not competitive. Like, compliance was done on a spreadsheet 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
It still is. So, I mean, very people heavy, like, Jana, do you have a lock behind you? And do you have so what are you using for this? And what are you using? Like, AI is not going to do that. And we're trying to raise this tide, and there is a lot of co-opetition. There's a bunch of vendors kind of together. Tim mentioned the PSAs and RMMs, right? Those are the very channel ready, and they run all the conferences as well. So like you said, you gotta have to be there, you gotta have a presence, you gotta know the people, you gotta get them to trust you to make that leap of faith. As I said before about that opportunity cost, like they've got to be ready to invest in you as a vendor. It's really upscaling them, kind of getting them ready. And it's taken a while. Tim will admit, like there's people that have been on the fence, maybe kind of poke their head in every couple months, maybe a year, like what's Tim got cooking over there, right? Like in terms of compliance. So it really is a blue ocean thing. And it's, like I said, maybe 10% penetration that people are actually doing compliance. It's really early. It's like the DVD and the Wedding Crasher, if you remember. It's the CD, honey.
That's very similar to what we're doing with the Cybersecurity Marketing Society, which is trying to move the industry forward, right? There's a lot of co-opetition in our space as well, which is the vendor space, right? And what we're trying to do is to connect people and to move not just our individual businesses forward, but the industry forward. How can we be better so that we can all make the world a safer place? And marketing and sales has a piece of that, a part in that, for sure.
You just said something that was my love language, which is make the world a safer place, right? Or we like to say building defensibility, right? Protecting those digital borders, right? If you go look at my LinkedIn, I kind of talked a little bit about that in the last day or two. Like, we're at war, my friends, right? It's just a different battlefield, right? Having 13 years in the military, we're facing a whole new era of attacks and stuff coming after us, right? And so it's people like yourself and Maria and Tim, like starting to get the message out there of, build some defensibility, put some walls up around the castle, right? Have some sort of scorecards to keep track of where you are, right? Because at the end of the day, I don't want my data all over the interwebs. I don't want my grandkids' data all over the interwebs, right? Mm-hmm. No, like, let's start to be better together and build some digital borders.
That's awesome. On the topic of better together, well, let's ask one more question about enablement, which I know, or helping / mentor / whatever, right? Okay. Helping people be able to sell your product or package your product. What is some of the best enablement you've seen out there by security vendors? Instead of just what are people doing wrong? What are people doing well or good?
Go ahead, Tim.
I'm thinking of like my favorites in the channel, like who've done a really good job with enablement, like, Alex and Marnie, right, from Lifecycle Insights, people that have run, they don't do a security product, Gianna, but like they, there was a security element to their product, and it was really it's like, Google used to have these office hours like early on in the company where they would get all their customers to basically show up. No, they're not customers, they're partners, right? So they'd get 1,000 people, 500 people on these calls and just talk about like, how do I use this? And everyone kind of built on each other. So you kind of have to have that really engaged cohort to enable them, as you said. So I don't know. Give me some examples of security company, because security is a little, yeah, like I said, some of the products don't need as much. There's like firewalls and VPNs and, there's not as much hand holding going on. Tim happens to be in one of the highest hand holding areas. So
I like holding hands. We can sing Kumbaya, right? so if we're going to use your word enablement, right? How do we empower our MSPs to be successful? What do I look at as being successful organizations that have done that, right? So our good friend Wes Spencer, when he started Perch, right? One of the things that Wes did was to actually sit with the MSP and the MSP customer to get them to understand the stuff. Funny. We do that now too. Tim mentioned our good friend Alex and Marnie over at Lifecycle, like building that weekly or bi-weekly, conversation with the current customers or the current partners. Funny, we do that too. So there are things that vendors in the space can do, like building community, having a person out in front of that can speak the MSP language without sounding condescending, right? Without speaking down to them, because I've seen that happen a few times, right? And actually working side by side, arm in arm, hand in hand with the MSP in the trenches. Like, this is how you're going to package this. This is how you're going to price this. I understand your business model, and I'm going to help you mesh this into your business model so that you can package and profit off of a particular program.
Very good. Being that hand holder, helping hand, sitting and helping and teach people about the product, sitting with the customer of your customer and providing all that extra added cherry on top goodness that shows that you're a true partner and not just selling a thing and saying thanks, bye-bye.
I did that 33 times a year ago when it came to doing gap assessments and gap evaluations with MSPs and their customers. Not only did I learn a lot from that process, working through and alongside the MSP, being invited into that conversation, but I learned what didn't work and what really did work, right? To, I guess, enable or empower that MSP, right? Our program was, I do the first one, you do the second one, but I hold your hand, and you do the third one, and I'm just kind of on call. And it worked really well. By the time the MSP got to the third one, whether it was a HIPAA assessment or a CMMC gap evaluation or whatever, it worked really well to teach them along the way.
I love that.
So, yeah, you're scratching the surface on something. So this idea of co-selling, right? Like Tim's there, the MSP's there, and the customer's there. You think about that as an enterprise player now coming into the channel. You might see a little bit of a conflict of interest here. So you usually have to be all channel or all enterprise. And that conflict of interest, Dell and some of these other big vendors, right? Like all of a sudden they're like, well, what do we need the MSP for? Like, let's cut them out, right? So,
yeah, multiple folks in the Cybersecurity Marketing Society who are channel marketers, as well as guests on our podcast, have talked about needing to be very careful if you do sell direct and sell channel to not be cutting out your channel out of the deal, because that's not a great strategy for a long-term relationship with the channel.
Oh no, and you'll burn in hell for it because the MSPs will catch wind of it and you'll be gone. Like, trust me, I've seen it happen.
Yeah, and we always talk about how this industry is massive, but it really is a small world, and everybody does know everyone at the end of the day. And for what? For 10% gain on that deal, or whatever, do you want to really risk it? It's not worth it.
Not worth it. All right. Well, I think it's time for our game, Maria.
I think
you have a game? I
wasn't
prepared for a game.
Too bad.
Have a game. I'll explain. So every guest that's on our show gets to witness myself and Gianna basically take a guess at what they would be doing career-wise if they weren't currently in their job. And I see a yellow rubber duck. Is that a guess? Is that a hint? Okay. So
there's a story behind these. I'll tell you when we're done.
Okay, I love it. So we'll kind of guess based on just pure intuition and not based on creepy research on each of you and your interests outside of your immediate work. Sometimes we do, but most of the time we don't. We just kind of like feel the vibe on the show and take a guess.
Make a wild guess.
Yeah. And then you tell us if we nailed it or if we, completely failed at the mission. And then you tell us exactly what you would be doing if you weren't currently in your current jobs.
Yep. And it can't be security for either of you. And for Tim, it can't be military either. Or for Tim Golden.
On the side over here, I'm going to text Tim Schnurr so I'm not lying because, integrity is important. So I'm going to text him on the side my answer over here and see if they guess it.
All right. Let's do it. All right. Gianna, you go first for Tim Golden.
Oh, gosh. Oh, no. Okay. Well, Tim Golden just danced a rubber ducky across the screen for those of you on the audio podcast. And therefore, I'm going to make a guess. Tim, you like to talk to people. You're definitely a people person. You know how to command a room. I think that you would own the largest rubber manufacturing company in the world, which creates rubber duckies and other rubber products. And you would start a rubber. Yes, exactly. Stop laughing, Maria. This is correct. And you would start. And I'm going to modify that. Largest toy manufacturer in the world. You start a toy company.
Okay, your answer is locked in. Tim, I am getting teacher vibes from you. Just the way you kind of covered some of those topics, you speak nice and slow, very clearly. You do tend to have this sway of getting your message across and making it in simple terms that can be understandable. So I feel like you would be an elementary school teacher or something in education.
All right, Mr. Golden, what do you think of our guest?
So I find the educational part really interesting because I worked for an educational research company for 20 years. So maybe I learned a thing or two over there, right?
Okay.
Yeah, but that's probably not what I would be doing. And it's certainly, while I love the idea of toys, because, being a new granddad, I get to play with all the new toys now. I think, had I started all over again in the beginning and not even went down the cyber path, I would have been an underwater welder.
Damn it. That was going to be my second guess.
Ooh, what a welder. That's really wild. And see, this is the type of thing that Gianna would actually guess, in any other podcast show. And I would be like, wow, that's a crazy, wild idea. But hey, it actually could work.
Mm-hmm.
So when you said nothing military, I was like, well, that was why I went into the military, was so that I could do that, but the Navy didn't. Anyways, long story short. So,
all right, let's guess for our second Tim of the show. I'll go first.
Yeah, go first.
I am getting outdoorsy vibes, travel vibes from you. So I think if you weren't currently working in cybersecurity, you would probably own like a travel, lifestyle, leisure company.
Okay.
That's too vague. Be more specific, Maria. What is a travel, lifestyle, leisure company?
Okay, outdoor sports, hiking, natural. I don't know. That's the vibe I'm getting from you.
I think you would work in Excel for your job, whatever it is.
In Excel?
Yeah.
Like Microsoft Excel?
Yes. Like doing something smart with numbers. That's my part. What do people who are smart with numbers do? Like an analyst,
an actuary.
Like an actuary. Yes, you'd be an actuary.
There you go.
All right. What's the verdict?
Both of the Tims are so disappointed.
They are.
So I actually was in the financial world for my first 10 years. So I was an analyst. So there were some models, but I wasn't great at making them. Tim and I both, Tim doesn't drink anymore, but we also had a passion for craft beer. So
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and I always, it's a tough industry to get in. It's not exactly, you're not going to sell it for $1 billion either. So, but yeah, no, we both have or at least had a passion for it at some point. So, I'm always looking around, because they're changing the laws in New Jersey. They're getting a little more friendly. They're very not friendly to breweries now. Like you can't.
In Jersey, you
can make your own beer, but you can't serve it. Like you can't have events. You can't have TVs. You can't. There's all kinds of. They're very strict. It's one of those.
So what I'm hearing is it's easier and more legal to buy and smoke pot than it is to
100%.
Pretty much.
Same with New York. 100%. Yeah.
So Tim Schnurr, you're saying you would have a brewery?
Yeah. No. Hopefully someday, maybe. Yeah.
So neither of you explained which one of us would be more right or won, because you have to pick one. So who's the winner here?
Well, for me, it would be Maria, because she picked the K-12 space, being an educator. But, when I compare it to what Gina had to say, I'm more leaning towards that. But I don't know. I would have to say probably Tim Schnurr is right.
Tim Schnurr is the winner of the episode.
Oh, wait. No, that's not my guess, is it?
Yeah, so you're supposed to choose which one of us is the winner in the guessing game, since we're the guessers, and you guys were the guessers.
Tim, do it. Okay, what do you think? Or
So,
say our answers.
Yana said Excel, so I mean, that's I already had one of my jobs. I guess I got to give her credit for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
so
but Maria already had my job working in K-12, right? So
there you go. There you
So
go.
50-50 then.
It's a tie, I think.
split.
Yeah.
I'll
take it.
All right, we will take it. Tim and Tim, where can people find you if they want to find you?
If they can't find me, they're not looking hard enough.
So teamtim.live is, of course, the two of us.
And Jesse.
And Jesse. Always, Jesse's the star of the show. Jesse's in the channel has gone like this. Just trajectory has been. He only came into the channel a year ago. He's teaching people how to do vCISO, which is very complementary with GRC. So it's a very blue ocean show. We'll leave it at that. And then leasetrust.com or Inquisitive IT. I think Lease Trust is going to be easier to remember. But Tim Golden, Polygon.com. Does that still work? Does that redirect?
Polygon MSP. Yeah, don't say that, please. It still works.
You never even owned Polygon, did you?
I owned it. I did.
Polygon.com?
No. So that when we launched, when we were building this, I'm like, I need something. I just can't be this thing. So we came up with the code name Polygon because we were shaping the future of policy management, and Polygon is a shape, right? Get it?
I thought it was policy Polygon.
No, Polygon was just the code name, right? Okay. So we were shaping the future of policy management, right? Because Polygon, it's a shape, right? You get it. You're marketing folks. You understand that.
Yeah,
until my wife was like, yeah, when the app goes down and it's now your policies are gone. I was like, damn it.
Oh, yikes. That's actually pretty good feedback.
Yeah, that was
my wife. She's always good for a zinger or two. So you can find us at compliancescorecard.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, the Twitters, the socials, the books, the Reddits. We're all over the place. Somebody called me Roy Kent the other day because I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. And in the meantime, go buy Marnie Stockman's book on leading through Ted Lasso. I'm probably getting the name wrong, but I'm everywhere. We're everywhere. I'm here for you.
Awesome.
You can reach out anywhere.
Awesome. Well, we will link to every single one of those freaking links in the show notes, Maria.
Well, thank you, Tim and Tim, for being on the show today. Thank you for our listeners. Remember, there's a new episode that drops every Wednesday, so subscribe so you can get the alert. And give us as many stars as you can and tell your friends and colleagues in cybersecurity and cybersecurity marketing about this show. And see you all next time.
Thank you.